Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the ISO Review Podcast, a production of Simplify ISO. The ISO Review Podcast shares the latest international standards development and is your resource for getting the most out of your management systems. Hello, I'm Howard Fox, business coach and host of the Success Insight Podcast, and I'm joined by ISO Management System Professional Jim Moran, celebrating his 33rd year delivering ISO support. Good morning, Jim. How are you doing?
Howard, it's a beautiful day here in Ottawa, Canada, the capital of our country. And the weather here is probably a little cooler than where you are.
Oh, wow. Well, I would imagine so. And we were like 107 degrees Fahrenheit over the weekend. And I have to share, by the way, given you are Canadian and you're in Ottawa, your nation's capital, I actually had a podcast interview last week with a gentleman from Newfoundland. And
Yes.
all I have to say is, how do I emigrate to Canada? And I would go live in Newfoundland in a heartbeat. It was so gorgeous out there.
Oh, it's an incredible part of our country. It's as close to Ireland as you can get in terms of terrain and so on. It's not quite as lush as Ireland, but it's quite as accent is Irish for sure.
Oh, really? I love there's a lot of outdoor activity, which fit into the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. And I love it was quiet, relatively quiet.
Yes.
There is a tourist element to it. That's okay.
Yes.
And probably lots of good seafood, I would imagine, to eat.
Tons. It's a favorite hobby of people who live in harbors to go down to the docks in the morning when the lobster, especially the lobster ships are coming in. You can get fresh lobster. And it's not any better than that. They're still alive when they come out of the traps. You take them home. Some people have tanks. They keep them in with salt water for a while. And they are scary when they boil and they start to squeal. And they don't actually squeal, just the air coming out of the small holes. But it's definitely a wonderful part of our country to live in, the whole East Coast, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and they all have plenty of seafood, which of course is so healthy for you. It's great to be part of that.
I love it. I love it. Well, hopefully someday I will get to Ottawa to visit you and make my way up to Newfoundland. So
yeah, it's only a 90-minute flight from Ottawa to the capital of Newfoundland, St. John's. And there's a St. John in New Brunswick. So there's and wonderful touring out there. It's just incredible.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully someday it'll happen.
Yes.
But as for us today, we are continuing our live demonstration of the do-it-yourself building of an ISO management system. What is the detailed topic that we're going to cover today within this series?
Well, we've talked about the idea of doing it yourself, the idea of getting ideas from artificial intelligence tools to make the content up. Again, you can't just copy and paste, but you can at least get lots of ideas on what you'd have to do to meet the requirement for your specific company. And today we're just going to look at the three main, I guess you would say, thorns in the side of people who run management systems, use management systems. And we mentioned in one of the podcasts, Howard, this information about where the trouble spots are goes back to 1996 when I was working with a registrar. And then 20 years later, 2016, I was working with another registrar, and exactly the same three topics came up. Issues with, first of all, document control. Secondly, filling out or not completing nonconformances. And then the third one was issues with the internal audit activities. So we'll take a look at those three areas and how you'd be able to manage them with our system. And then we'll be ready for people to just give us a quick note. There's places to sign in on the website on simplifyiso.com. And we'd be happy to have a 10 or 15-minute conversation to see if there's any chance it might be something that could help you relieve any of your ISO pain.
Sounds good. Well, let's get her done.
All right. I'm just going to share my screen.
Okay.
And I think maybe I'll do one more share to make it really specific. And how's that look?
Looking good.
I'll make it a little bit bigger. There we go. So as I mentioned, I guess you'd say now, after people have got kind of an idea of this is going to be talking about implementing, actually making the rubber hit the road, Howard. And this is how you would actually use the site. And I mentioned about document control being one of the issues that often comes up, especially in the design area. So what we do with this is we have a automatic updater built in here and here. This tells who made the change, and this tells what date the change was made. I'll just go to, maybe I'll go, well, we can stay right here. I'll just do an edit page, and this is how you edit any of the pages. Just click up here. Let's take the dash 2026 out, quality QMS policy, quality management system, or quality policy. I'm going to update it over here. And this is interesting too. You can see right here when it was published, and August 2017. And here you can see revisions as well. So if you needed to see what was changed, now keep in mind the standard used to require up till 2015, you were required to show what the changes were. That is no longer the case. And you can compare versions here as well. So there's lots of information in the background. And there we go. I'll just go back to the actual page where we were. And now that we've made this change here, I'll update the page here. And then when we go to the site and see it, you'll see that it was changed by me, authorized by me. And whoever made the change to the document, their name would appear here. So there's no issues about who made the change. And then you can see here's today's date, 2025, June 30th. So that takes care of all the requirements of the standard. If you look through it, you'll see that one requirement is to show who authorized it. Another requirement is to have a title. So we have a title on the page, and if we're thinking auditor, they would see the language. They can see it's in electronic. And these are all parts of this clause 7.5.2 and 0.3, talking about developing documents and managing the documents. And the only two documentation issues are who authorized it and what's the revision level. Some companies back in the day used Rev 1, Rev 2, Rev 3. And anytime you're doing anything mechanical or anything manually in your documents, at some point or other, somebody's going to miss the change. So that's why we update. That's why we automated the version control and automated who authorized it. So there's lots of benefits to simplifying as well. Some organizations at the end of the document down here, they'll have a table of revisions and what was changed. And there's no requirement for that any longer. But when we talk about change, we have a whole method here for making control, giving you control of the change. So we have the date, obviously. Process, is it a process change, a policy change, or other? This clause 6.3 talks just to changes to the management system. Changes to the customer's order are in clause 8.2 8.4 in there. Changes to production methods is in 8.5.6, changes to design 8.3.6. So all those, you can add all those here if you wanted to, all the different types of change. But this clause 6.3 is primarily or is specifically for changes to this management system. So you can just start with the description and the reason for change, describe how changes were controlled and in the implementation date. And of course, you can upload any files. But one of our laboratories that has a requirement in 17025 for managing change, and the registrars or the accrediting bodies, I should say, some of them want the documents showing the changes kept for 5 years. So what they do here is we upload a PDF of the existing document, make the changes, and then the assessors in the case of 17025 can review this change and see the new version online. So the next one we talked about as being a challenging area is the nonconformances. It's a big one for everybody. And we have you can put a flow chart here under this tab for how you do it if you wish to. You don't have to have a documented procedure unless you want one. And we have all the requirements of clause 10.2, controlling nonconformances, right in this form. You can see there's a submitted by a date. This little asterisk means it's mandatory. And then you could have a drop down if you wanted to say OFI, opportunity for improvement, or nonconformance, whichever you like, or you can just put the title in here. Then you put some more detail about what was going on with it. And then there's some more information here. Again, you can make up a list of whatever you like, maybe review your most relevant ones or your most frequent ones, add them to this list. You could talk about the issue priority, emergency, critical, major, minor, and then the status, newly open, review in progress or closed. You can make this anything you like. Most of our clients lately have just been using open and closed. Makes it easier to manage a client, or describe who the client is or what the process is. Describe what the incident was, what you did immediately, and you'll see these are all requirements of clause 10.2, corrective action. And then a root cause analysis. A lot of people use the Ishikawa fishbone, one of my favorites. And then say what you did. What did you do to prevent the issue from happening again? Prevent recurrence is the language the standard uses. And then you let it run for a while and then review it for effectiveness. You could add a date in here if you wanted to of how the review went. And then you'll look when you see the standard 10 clause 10.2.1e, it talks about reviewing your risk and opportunity analysis from clause 6.1. And the reason they do that is that they're suggesting that you can ask the question, if we had done a better job of risk analysis, could we maybe have avoided this right from the start? So check that out. And then the closeout due date, you'll notice it's also mandatory. So you need to take a guess at when you might be able to get it closed out. You can always change it later. Everything's editable. And then you pick your whole list of clients can be here, or your whole list of users will be here. Then you can assign it to whoever you need. You can add the assignee if you don't need to, but you put their email in here. This is mine if I got assigned. And then you can add recipients in here, just separate them with a comma. And then the assignee can sign it. There's my JPM. There we go. Then you can upload as many files as you want. So that's how Well, I'll just tell you a couple more things, Howard. If when we have the closeout due date in here, you can pick wherever you want it. About 2 weeks ahead of time, or any interval you like, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 days, 3 days, whatever, 2 months maybe in some cases. The person who it's been assigned to, me in this case, will get a message saying you have a due date coming up for this nonconformance, and it lists the nonconformance, has a link to it. You go and see it. And then if it goes past the due date, a different set of messages start saying it's passed and you need to do something about it. And some companies, even on that letter, will CC this person's, whoever this person reports to. It's kind of nasty, but some companies need it. And those letters keep coming until it changes here to closed. Once that happens, then the letters stop. And the last one, oh, let me just quickly show you what it looks like when you review them. Review the actions. You can see that we've set it up so that the critical stuff comes up red, minor is yellow, and the, let's see, emergency, major would be different. And you have total control over what you're showing. All these headings, you have different, you can completely customize and add more if you want, have fewer if you like, whatever you like. And you have control of these colors, you have the choices, and every column will sort regardless of what's in there. So you can see we've got all these coming up together. And we can certainly adjust them any way you like as well. So the last thing we're going to talk about today is this thing called audits and inspections. You can see one thing here we start with is the audit schedule. And on this particular page, we've just put a calendar in here, and we've got a link to the action sheets here, the audit report form, and the internal audit checklist. But this could be set up as a calendar with reminder dates that would send messages to people so they don't forget them. The other issue that is sometimes a problem with organizations is to get from this, to get from the audit. You have a finding in an audit, and the finding doesn't get sent into the nonconformance. Maybe some of the listeners have already had that happen, where the auditor comes in, the auditor looks at the checklist from your internal audit, sees that you've identified a nonconformance or an OFI, then says, well, can we have a look at this in your nonconformance system? And lo and behold, it can't be found. So what we do here, you can see we've chosen the department, the system document ID that you've got, the ISO clause, so you can scan that and see to make sure you've covered all the ISO clauses, the activity, what it was, and the evidence. And we get the activity from the flow chart. We just go through each box in the flow chart, put down the activity, and then rate things. Competence, you can rate this is a 1 to 5 scale. You can make it 1 to 20, 1 to 100, whatever you like. Competence, awareness. These are the three key things that people sometimes miss when they're doing internal audits. They just ask, are you following the procedure, and look for evidence that the procedure's been carried out. It's much better to ask instead, are you getting the right result? And are the risks related to this activity being managed well? And then, of course, finally, and this is the whole value of doing internal audits, is have opportunities for improvements been explored. So what happens here, Howard, if, let's say, competence comes in at a 4, this little box pops up. It's an opportunity for improvement. So it helps make sure that the nonconformance gets into your or the opportunity for improvement in this case gets into your nonconformance system, or your improvement system. If it comes down to a 2, then it comes up as a nonconformance related to competence. The way the scale works is that a score of 4 or 3 is an opportunity for improvement, and a score of 1 or 2 is a nonconformance. Opportunity for improvement, 3 and 4, nonconformance, 1 and 2. And depending on what it ends up as, you'll either have it be writing out the opportunity for improvement, and you'll see it can tell the difference because this is the one due to competence, and this is the one being at risk being managed. So when you submit it, the record is kept. Let me show you what that would look like: performance evaluation, audits and inspection, and it goes to an audit report. So we have an automated audit report. Once again, if you have your own system now, you can make this form look exactly like what you have now. We can turn any of your forms into an electronic form. And then, of course, once you've built the electronic form, then you will create, in every case, a review page for it. Just like the one we showed you over here for the improvement, you can create a review page like this for any form that you decide to build for your system. There's lots of help within the company that has the form building software. It's called Formidable. And we're here as well. We meet with our clients once, sometimes twice a month, to go over what they've done. And people write emails to me or call or text during a month or two between visits, and we can hop on a Zoom call and work our way through it with you. We can design forms, design review pages, and anything you need in order to make your ISO life much easier up. And one last thing I wanted to show you that we provide for you is a spreadsheet with all the requirements of ISO 9001 in the left column, and then you would put a hyperlink to wherever it is in your system in the other column. We can certainly go over that with any viewers as part of the detailed review we'll do of how the system works and how it might work for you.
Very good.
So there we go.
Very good. So it's a lot of work there, but it's also a tool that's designed to make efficient completion. I mean, it's not, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of documentation. There's definitely a lot of processes that need to be in place. But at the end of the day, when it comes to safety of your information management system, this is the type of tool that you need, and done a great job of putting it together and now showing potential users of the system how do you go about implementing the program. So very good, Jim.
Thanks, Howard. There's one last thing I want to show you.
Okay.
Is it back up? Maybe not. There we go. Because we do call this do it yourself. And the one thing I didn't show, there's the back end. You can see all the things you can do with your site, how you can customize it. But for each one of the clauses, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, for the do-it-yourselfers, we have this help page. Every single tab has a help page. And we have an intro here explaining the clause, same as you're seeing now. And then we explain for each and every section, most of the times each and every clause, but we show you how to use AI, and we give you an example of how to create the question. For example, would be for a healthcare company, home care company. How would I determine my context for ISO 9001 clause 4.1? Then you describe yourself. We're a home healthcare facility with 5 office staff, 120 caregivers, 60 clients in Ontario, Canada. have to meet Ontario health regulations. So you put that into whatever tool you like, ChatGPT, any of the other tools, and you'll get a result. You wouldn't copy and paste it, but in some cases maybe, but it's better to sort of reword it and make it exactly yours.
Make it your
Now,
own.
we've had some clients and had their website into the question. And I noticed the difference between just naming what you are and the difference between adding your website. It's much more detailed and quite a bit more specific when you're adding your website. However, you need to be aware that the information becomes part of the whole global information world.
Right.
Typically, there aren't
Yeah.
any super sensitive pieces of information on the website. So we've got the same thing here for clause 4.2. We go to leadership, and we'll get to the help clause here. Same thing, some more questions. How would I show I'd met the 10 requirements for management clause 5.1.1? So if you clearly name the clause, even if you want to go to some clauses, and same thing, same company, and so on, you get lots of guidance, quality policy, same idea. Could you suggest some ideas for our quality policy? And it's in each of these tabs has the assistance or the help clause for it. And even once you get started using AI, you could actually make up your own questions after you've done a few. And it's surprising what pops out. And couple of our clients have even tried 3 different AI tools to see how similar and how different they were. So there's just
Right.
no limit to what you can do. And that helps you move ahead much faster. For us, for a company like, say, 25 or so, or maybe 3 months, 3.5 months, smaller companies are faster, bigger companies are slower. So give our listeners a chance to evaluate how much time it might take. There you go.
Very good. Very good, Jim. And appreciate you tying back in the actual do-it-yourself elements with the AI. It's always very helpful.
Yes.
All right. I think we'll decide offline what our topic is going to be for our next episode, but
Mhm.
I no doubt we are going to continue to add value to our listeners who are passionate about their information management systems. And before we forget this episode, we can find, we were just on the Simplify ISO website and simplifyiso.com. And we're also going to have links back to your other site, the International Management System Institute, imsipro.org. We also will have a link back to the ISO 27001 gap checklist, as well as your LinkedIn profile and articles. And of course, this episode will be up on your YouTube channel, and you'll
Yes.
be able to see the video of today's episode. And other than that, I think we've pretty much have it, Jim.
Thanks, Howard. It'll be on LinkedIn. And in addition to the gap checklist for 27001, Rick or the Conformance One site has a gap checklist for ISO 9001 as well.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get the link and we'll put that into the show notes as well then.
All right, Howard. Thanks very much. And you have July 4th coming up at the end of the week, I believe.
Yes, we do. Declaration of Independence, that old it's amazing that that we get to still have that event given all that's going on these days. But
Yes, independence from Great Britain, and ours is tomorrow, July
yours is
1st.
tomorrow. All
Tomorrow,
right. Well,
our
have a
Canada.
fantastic holiday yourself, and we look forward to being together after the holidays and learning more about information systems, international standards development, and helping our listeners with their information management systems. So we
All
appreciate it.
right. Thanks, Howard. See you next time.
Sounds like a plan. Listen, stay in the line as usual, and we'll do a real quick close, and you and I can have that final chat. All right, folks, you've just been listening to another episode of the ISO Review Podcast, a production of Simplify ISO. We're going to have all the links up in our show notes, and be sure to visit Jim's website. You can get there's a video and sign up for about the do-it-yourself information management system. And the idea too is just using the latest and greatest techniques and tools, AI, to help you facilitate the completion of this very important series of documents in your management systems. As for us, you can find the ISO Review Podcast at all of our podcast directories. Just search for ISO Review Podcast, and the episode will also be up on Jim's website as well. You can find more information about me and my coaching work at foxcoaching.com. And we'll also have a link to it on the show notes, as well as a link to my LinkedIn profile. Okay, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a fantastic start to your week. And we look forward to having you join us on a future episode of the ISO Review Podcast. Take care now.